Yes, 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 we are back. Here it is, the world's most bullish podcast, back for your listening ears, pod number 79, brought to you, as always, by Mr. All In, aka the Trillion Dollar Man, Dr. Evil 10%, aka the People's Champ, myself, Sir Neverlook, aka the Excellence of Execution, and our fourth and always guest that doesn't seem to arrive, Mrs. No Show. Nowhere to be seen.
As
Hello?
always. But
We're
yeah,
going to
this
get, I was going to say, we're going to get another rant about not talking about Mrs. No Show.
No,
yeah, if you start
no, we
talking
just
about Mrs. Nation, yeah, you will.
yeah, we just gloss over it.
Yeah, so this week, what have we got on the agenda? Well, we've got a piece by Pierre Rochard saying Bitcoin's not FTX, just in case anyone needs to fucking hear that. We've got a great article here. We should be sharing
Yeah,
it with our friends and family, just being like, we know freaking FTX is in the news, but it's nothing to do with Bitcoin. Martin Shkreli has an appearance here. I do love a bit of Shkreli, and he goes through what sentence SBF should be getting. Then got Binance on the show. CZ is under fire. He's the next in line, and he's trying to address. They got the collateral. They're all good, but he bombs an interview. It's not looking good. It looks a little bit shaky. We've got some Bitcoin mining news, this time in Japan. We've got someone paying a huge fee to send some Bitcoin. 3 Bitcoin was the total transaction fee. We'll discuss what the freaking hell happened there. We've got some updates into Lightning. It's getting more features. And then we've got good old FUD of the week. Elizabeth Warren does yet another appearance on this show. She'll be giving us royalties no matter time we freaking shell her name.
special guest Elizabeth Warren showed up more times than Mrs. No Show.
And another friend of the show appears in Shitcoin Corner because CryptoZoo, our friend CoffeeZilla, does a nice little update on where did those dumbass eggs from the CryptoZoo that were being charged out at $2,000 or $3,000 per egg. How much money are they worth now? And what happened with that project? And as you can probably guess, there it's not good. But we're gonna end the show on that. So if anyone wants to click about, you can click about and see where we are. But yeah, first off, it is Bitcoin is not FTX.
Yeah. So obviously it gets touted around quite often, doesn't it? That the crypto term and Bitcoin, blah blah, and we have to always give the delineation between the two of what they are. And I think it's always key to do so. There is Bitcoin, and then there is all the rest of the shit coins that are out there.
Yeah, as we said, like great crypto is just an expedited version of fiat. It's like fiat, but probably even worse. It's even more centralized, and it'll just the whole like lifespan of fiat is taken 500 years to kind of pump up to where it is, and then eventually it will crash. But that's got the support of lots of governments, lots of big war machines. Whereas crypto and shitcoins are just designed to be nice little pumping dumps. Instead of lasting 500 years, they might last 500 hours. And, you know, and to put Bitcoin in that category is so wrong. It's like there's crypto as a part of fiat, and then you just have Bitcoin on its own over here. That is how it should be. That's
We
the
talked about, I was just going to say, we talked about this earlier, myself and Sir Neverlook. So we're talking about shit coins, and I think some of them do have, in a way, good technology, but it's technology. It's literally this good idea, but the fact is it sits on a centralized, non-restricted kind of like network. So it's not really a currency. And I think
With
that's
a
the way to
coin
look at it.
attached to it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
exactly. It's actually, if you look at it in a real world, you kind of go, oh, it's great tech. I think this can be a big building block for the financial future. Therefore, we should invest in this company so they can build infrastructure for something like Bitcoin. But instead, they're going, oh, yeah, it's, I don't know, whatever coin, Luna or what the hell else. I've forgotten half the names now. And it's just, and they're trying to market as a currency, whereas it's never going to be a currency. It never will be. It doesn't actually meet any requirements to be a currency. And that's kind of like my kind of like thinking about crypto, where people are actually getting confused about the value.
yeah, and even more so, like we're not even comparing Bitcoin to shitcoin necessarily here. We're comparing it just to one exchange, which made the majority of their money through shitcoins. But to say that Bitcoin dies because one of the most centralized, seemingly corrupt and bad, ill-managed exchanges out there, FTX, because that implodes, that somehow has a negative impact on Bitcoin for a sustainable period as well, instead of just being a short term, oh, some people need to sell to get off that exchange. It's like, oh no, but long term, this dents the future potential of Bitcoin is just completely farcical.
But this person, the direct comparison is if it puts Bitcoin with Ethereum, and Ethereum is the internet of everything, isn't it? That's pretty much a tagline. So it's like we're doing all this innovation, but it's not actually a currency because it's centralized. How many coins are there? What the fuck does it actually do? Does it move money efficiently? No. And then Luna, I don't even know what Luna does, but it's dead, isn't it? So he's trying to compare it to these two different things, which are nothing like Bitcoin. And what's his name? Ben Sixsmith. So he's probably sitting there touching himself, thinking about how proud he makes the government, but he shouldn't be, because he's a fucking moron, doesn't actually understand what he's talking about.
Yeah, because it's the second you just, well, it's just propaganda, isn't it? In reality, it's FUD, but it's good from Pierre Rochard here. He just dismantles it really and goes, nah, look, he points out the key things about Bitcoin, the fact that it is, specifically designed to be decentralized. It needs to be fully auditable. It needs to be scarce. And Ethereum and Luna, because he seems to prick those two projects out as in, oh, they're the ones comparable to Bitcoin. You go, no, Ethereum and Luna are not. They are just ridiculous kind of Ponzi schemes that have huge currencies, that the valuation of these currencies have gone far beyond what the value of the project is. So once that happens, all the incentives are now wrong. There's no way that the project can ever deliver to the value that it's now amassed. And so it's a ticking time bomb until the people that hold these coins realize, oh shit, Ethereum is worth something like, I don't know, 200, 300 billion. Oh, but it does nothing, has no customers, just lots of people trading a coin. Maybe it's overvalued. And when people realize that, it's whoever's running to the door fastest, and people can go, oh, it's great freaking innovation technology all day long. You go, okay, fine. Maybe if I was a VC investor, I'd value Ethereum at 10 million, not 300 billion. So there's a lot of room for fucking crashing there. Whereas with Bitcoin, you go, well, what does Bitcoin do? Oh, what customers does it have? It's like, well, it's 200 million. It's integrated into all this. Yeah, but what's it meant to do? Does it do what it's meant to do today? Yep, it does. Every 10 minutes, there's a block comes out, more Bitcoin comes out. We've got Lightning wallets.
I very rarely read about any of these altcoins, but I'm sure I heard somewhere that Ethereum was on like a 10-year plan or a 10-year project. So knowingly, it will end in that time frame.
Wow. What do you mean?
I don't know if you guys have heard any, but again, I really don't ever focus on. If someone asks me about any altcoins, I'm like, I don't really know about that, because I know about Bitcoin a lot and I know about financial history, but
do you not shout in her face, Bitcoin, not shitcoin?
Tell them about the fuckery that they've just done in terms of talking to me about the shitcoinery, but no.
So, genuine question, what are the principles of Ethereum?
I don't even know if they have principles.
So I think that's so that's fundamentally the issue. Like, you got things like the gas fees, like it's just like people talk, when they don't understand about the Lightning Network, they talk about Bitcoin, say, oh yeah, it's expensive and slow. But Ethereum, it's just expensive as hell to do anything, and they don't have a Lightning Network, do they?
No.
Well, no.
You can create just different shitcoins, and then, but yeah, that's why the Ethereum killers came out. You can use it on, I can't even know. I've forgotten all the Ethereum killers now. Solana was one. But it's just they don't have it because in reality, the Ethereum doesn't know what it is. It keeps rebranding itself. Because the great thing about rebranding yourself every 3 years is you never have to deliver the thing you originally said you're going to deliver. So that's what they're at now, isn't it? We're at Ethereum 2.0, which that only was rumored to be like, this new vision for the whole protocol probably came out about, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago. It was probably meant to take about a year or two. So ironically, I'd be like, in 10 years is probably when Ethereum 2.0 will come out. but they'll launch some half-assed baked version of it. By the time it comes out, it'll be so late, it won't deliver the things they need it to deliver. But by then, there'll be some other random kind of talk of the town. There'll be a new thing that maybe blockchain can do. And Ethereum will rebrand itself to go, oh, in 3 years, Ethereum 3.0 will do that. And they never deliver the thing they were meant to do before. It's a never ending. So the scam just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
I was going to say, yeah, in a way, for the founders, that's a good thing because they can just continue to run with it. And the fact that they're always, I don't know necessarily if they'll always, but, you know, currently they're seen as the number 2 and the hedge against Bitcoin. So the legitimacy that they kind of pull in from people is, well, I've got the next best thing.
Yeah, it's fantastic marketing, right? Amazing marketing for having not delivered a real world project that has any users, but still to be going, was it 7, 8, 9 years later now?
What do you mean? They have JPEGs on the blockchain.
Are they effectively the Pepsi to cola?
No, I think they're more like the Aldi cola.
But they're more like just an empty glass.
No ice.
It's Coke, is it? I can't taste anything. Wait 2 years and you'll be so satisfied. It's gonna
like,
but there's nothing in the glass.
There's no fizz.
You sold me this glass for $1,000. Like, where's the fucking there's no drink in it.
Maybe it's one thing which we should do one week is to do a bit of research on what the principles of Ethereum are. So
that's me just thinking about it.
You can do that. You can do that on your own, and I won't record it.
Just me talking to you. You go. But anyway, back to this article. So
yeah, we've given it too much airtime already, haven't we?
I didn't actually read the original article from Ben Sixsmith, but I just kind of like read the commentary within the Bitcoin magazine link. And one bit which I picked out was, we knew that cryptocurrencies were not a surefire route to freedom and independence when their value hinged on the good sense and morals of a bunch of weird nerds online. And that kind of, you know, it kind of loops into an early comment around how Bitcoin's been put alongside Ethereum and Luna, and we kind of just alluded to it, the weird the good sense and morals of a bunch of weird nerds online. It's Ethereum, isn't it? You know, literally that's what that describes. And the same with Luna, and it's the fact that he's lumped Bitcoin in as part of the hit piece, whereas if he went, well, what's Bitcoin stand for? And I think that's what I alluded to earlier, is like, what are the principles behind sound money? And that's what this person is either neglected to look up or is just completely ignored. And so that's what I really just want to throw into the conversation to get us back on track.
Yeah, I think it shows his bias as well, that doesn't it? You know, straight away in that line, you're just insulting the people that do it. You know, so could in reality call Bitcoin core developers nerds online? Yeah, they probably are. Why is that a negative thing? That's just just because you're a journalist, you're somehow better than some developer. Like, what? You can just tell already his slant on anything that is something that he probably can't understand. He's probably salty that developers get paid a lot. Probably even more salty that these developers that got into Bitcoin 10 years ago are now extremely wealthy. He's still working a shitty fiat job, getting told what to write. And yeah, it's just a hit piece. You know, it's not a genuinely like researched, well-written article that he's coming at it from a place of curiosity and he's trying to find out, you know, is this dead or is it not? Now he wrote it going, great, FTX is blown up. Let's now try and grab all this crypto shitcoin stuff plus Bitcoin and just throw it all in the bin. And because I'm salty about it, I'm unhappy that I missed it the first time round. So hopefully it's dead now. But as we know, Bitcoin doesn't die.
But don't worry, some central bankers will think it's a good article.
Well, it'll always be referenced because, of course, it tries to refute what we already know, which is, you know, Bitcoin will succeed, but it will continue to run the mill for people to use and point at.
Sweet. Should we move on to how long's
Let's do
SBF?
it.
How long's SBF going to get in jail?
Well, the fact that, again, I'm still surprised he is in jail and he won't want to spend too long in a Bahamian jail, right? So if he's going to be somewhere, I understand until February he's going to be in jail, whether it's in the Bahamas or the US. That's the time frame.
Oh yeah, like it's going to take a while to get the case against him and stuff, but it does seem like the early indications are, because I think Martin does a great job really here of going through what he's been charged with, and then having a look on the sentencing kind of docket of what do certain charges, what type of time do you have to serve for that, and
So I was listening to this, I was kind of going, who is he to know all this? And then it says, yeah, when I was in prison, I was like, okay, let's have a Google on this guy. And I realized who he was. I remember the story.
yeah.
So Martin, he bought an anti-parasitic, the license, and put the price up by hundreds of percent. So people basically couldn't afford it or would bankrupt themselves to buy it.
No, it's on insurance, but yeah, go
on. And I don't know, as a kind of complication or part of that, he ended up in prison for 5 years.
All right, it was a totally unrelated charge, basically. Yeah, so basically, there's an age drug. He's a pharmaceutical guy. He brought a generic age drug that was something like $15 a pill, and then he wanted to innovate in that space. So he ramped up the price of this pill from $15 like $500 a pill. His argument was the insurance companies will pay. This doesn't affect the consumer. Everyone's going to get the drug. If anyone isn't insured and can't get the drug, I'll give it to them for free. But I need to make money off this drug. So it went massive. He became the most hated guy in America. He went on all the chat shows to go, you're a disgrace. You raised the price of an age drug to 5,000% up. And he just listed off a load of drugs like insulin, like various depression pills, cancer drugs, that all the big pharmaceutical companies have done exactly the same thing. And he just went, why aren't they on your show? So he became the most hated guy in America. Then he went for Big Pharma and exposed them for the hypocrites they are. And everyone wanted him to apologize and put the price of his pill down. He just went, no, I ain't doing shit. Get these guys to do something. And in reality, even them doing that, it's not necessarily a bad thing. You have to make money on one set of drugs to fund the next set of drugs, because for every one drug that gets through the trials and actually solves an illness, you have 20 that failed those tests, and it costs you millions to get each one through. So when you finally get one through and it becomes a successful drug, you have to make mint on that to fund the next 20.
Yeah,
that could all be failures. So he became and he went up in front of Congress and laughed in their face. You have to go search these videos because they're fucking golden. He was drilled by them, and he just kept saying, by advice from my lawyer, I plead the fifth, and he'd grin at them. And they were getting fuming. So they were like, fuck this guy, we are getting him on something. And the problem is everything he'd done in pharmaceuticals was all legit. Nothing illegal. They went back to some little business he'd done where he'd raised $1.5 million. He hadn't quite signed all the paperwork. So he'd raised $1.5 million, technically illegally. It was a securities fraud. So even though apparently he said he paid back $3 million to these investors, so they'd actually doubled their money. Because he'd done the raise illegally, they threw the book at him and managed to get him 7 years in prison for securities fraud. So he knows this obviously intimately, and he went through all that. He went to prison, and it was very clear. He's a very clear example of he went at the system, embarrassed them, so they got him on a technicality for something he did years ago. That he definitely would not have gone to prison if he hadn't have embarrassed Big Pharma. So obviously he knows now. He went through similar charges that Sam is now going through. He got done on the same type of, it's a financial fraud thing. But he did $1.5 million, and there was something like 10 investors. So he got much lower limits. And looking at these sentencing charges, they're the two main factors. There's lots of other stuff that adds in, but to really go from anything between 6 months and 10 years, if you've done that, to be in that category, you needed to have done less than 25 people need to be defrauded, and it needs to be like less than, say, 100 million.
Yeah, and then
Once
it's
you get
what
above
technology and everything else, and he went through all the lists, and it was really good how he did it. And like I said, I was just amazed at first. That's why I had to Google him. But he went through this big table, and it was long like this. It went from 6 months down to, what was it? I think it was 35 years, and then it went to life after 35 years.
Yeah, life, yeah. And you pretty much go straight into that category of life, don't you? If you've done, because the problem with Sam, if over 25 people and over 500 million, you're in life category straight away. And the problem with Sam is he's defrauded probably 1 million people. Like, let's not even joke at 25. Like, these laws blatantly are not ready for the internet era, because I think defrauding 25 people like 1-to-1, maybe that's a thing. But now, like, if you commit a fraud online, it's straight away it's thousands. But Sam really went and did 1 million. But then the one that does hold true, which is, go on then, but how much did you steal? And their limits stop at 500 million. Sam's at 10 billion. So he's so far over all the limits by so far. If he doesn't get life, then
it's basically defined, you know, they talk about like steal, and it may be a technicality. I don't know how the American law or even general law works, but he was something like 8 billion, wasn't he, to Almeida? But if you go, well, actually, he loaned himself 1 billion. So that may be the actual figure which he gets done for, the billion, but it's still over that 500 million figure which you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you heard the parents may be involved as well?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They were on salaries of somewhere around about 100K, decent, but they've got property portfolios of hundreds of millions.
Yeah. So my thought process is he can shift the blame, or kind of like dilute the blame further and further away. And I'm sure the lawyers that he's got will help him do so. But where that blame is going to land,
I was going to say, how are you going to dilute? Because he's almost like the valve. Like, without him, nothing else can happen. So when you say dilute, it's still got to go through him. He's just implicating other people who worked alongside him, and his punishment's always going to be the same, unless he names loads of names and pulls loads of people out and they reduce it by 5 years. He's going to get minimum 30 years.
Yeah, still.
He's still the CEO, yeah. It's just whether his parents get charged as well.
Yeah.
That's the likely thing, because it's the fact that his parents involved doesn't dilute his charge. If anything, it just makes it even more concrete, because, well, letting your parents take 300 million out of the business is just further confirmation that you were being reckless as CEO and letting your parents buy 300 million pounds worth of property. Like, this is that was customer funds. Like,
because he loaned himself 1 billion. You know, so that billion has gone 500 million Robin Hood shares, 300 million to his parents, then 200 million. He's got a condo, probably private jet. That's probably where that's gone, that 200 million plus various parties. But they talked around, well, Martin talked, he said he reckons 30 plus years depend on admission of guilt, interpretation, and cooperation. So that's basically naming other people in. But what Martin actually brought up at the end of this clip was Caroline being in New York around the SEC buildings. I think it's the SEC, with another FTX employee. So you've got those two who, obviously, she knows the ins and outs, the links between Almeida, and the fact she was only at Almeida for, was it 2 months? So she was the patsy. You know, it's obvious she's the patsy. Like, someone brought this up with me. I said, she was there for 2 months. She's got links to Gary Gensler. She wasn't brought in for a stunning intelligence because she's a moron. She was brought in to kind of like deflect, because they knew they were going to shit.
Intelligence or looks. Neither.
Yeah. But obviously she did something fairly well. But the fact
chewed on the zucchini.
She was in New York with an FTX, so she's got to be kind of like CEO level between the companies. She's seen what's going on, and she's given all that information over the past couple of weeks, which has resulted in him being arrested, because they said they didn't want to touch him until they were really sure. And then also this FTX employee, they must have been at a reasonable level to actually see what was going on and actually pinpoint some of the problems, or maybe even capture some of those disappearing messages on Signal.
Mm.
Yeah, there'll still be enough. It's just all you got to do is go. Just it's like with anything like this, any big fraud, just follow the money. You know, money came in one place. Like, did they mix customer funds with investment funds and with company funds? There's bank accounts. It's all there if they did, and then just having a look at the paper trail to go, right, you're CEO of a huge company to take out hundreds of millions of a shared pot. Where's the paperwork? And if there isn't any because you got rid of it, then all it does is go, well, you were completely reckless and you need to go to prison for this. And so yeah, we'll see.
It can't just be reckless, because
there's that fraudulent,
that loan of $1 billion plus $500 million for a CTO. And in that billion, like I said, I reckon that some of it's gone to his parents. So you got to just look at that loop. He was siphoning off money for personal gain.
Yeah.
But then the kind of flip side of this, which I always think back to, is there were some very dodgy links through to the Democrats here. You know, he's tried to deflect it by saying he donated to the Republicans. But the fact is that he was doing the donations to Ukraine and being the Democrats' biggest donor. So there's big problems around that. So what are they going to do if he sings on those kind of points, or are they going to be avoided? And then what if he sings later on when he's in jail about it and starts making noise? Is he going to end up doing an Epstein?
Yeah,
that's the case.
Yeah, I think, yeah, we either get Epstein. If he wants to go to trial, get Epstein, because there's no way this goes to trial. He will, they'll settle. They will, he will get a settlement. So they'll go, look, well, we'll just, here you are, 25 years and whatever. Like that would be a decent thing. But then who knows what the settlement could be? It could, if he does genuinely have dirt on people, and they could just go, look, do a Skrelly and go, look, you got to do some good time. People want to see you do good time. But you'll be looked after once you get out. You're a young lad. Do 7 or 8 years. We're going to sentence you to 15, but we'll halve it. And then you go back into the billionaire lifestyle. You expose the fraud too quick. We couldn't get freaking the cover, and everyone knows about you. So we'll put you in a nice wing. You have a PlayStation in there. We'll get you a computer. Because the thing is, like, in reality, like, how far from a prison cell does Sam live anyway? He'd be happy in there. If you gave him a laptop, he wouldn't even notice he's in prison. You just let him tap away on his games all day. Like, he doesn't need to leave the room.
Is it?
Prison isn't really a punishment if you got. They need to just leave him in there in a freaking concrete cell.
League of Legends.
Yeah,
give him an internet link and the League of Legends, and he'll be okay.
Oh, have you seen people have found like his ranking on League of Legends? Like everyone assumed he was one of the best players in the game. Like, he's just shit. He's like below average. Like, for someone that played it all the time, they're like, bruh, like, at least be good at it. Anyway, should we move on to another scam? Binance.
Let's do it. So this one's an interesting one because CZ's taken a similar road to Sam Bankman-Fried by doing a little bit of a media run, saying we're good, we can make customers whole at any point. And obviously I threw this one into the agenda because he's trying to blame the banks when there was a little bit of a bank run on Binance, saying, well, we were okay, we were whole and we were solvent, but the time that it took the banks to get the money out to customers and the timing of when the customers demanded it meant that it took a long time. Therefore, we couldn't fulfill the withdrawals. Now, that's all well and good. But if you don't have the money, which is what this reporter was saying, that's a different question, right? And she kept on asking him, if somebody wanted to withdraw, was it 2.1 billion or so?
Yeah, this is the second video, yeah. The first interview, he answers it really well, doesn't he? I think really confidently. The video you put in, he's just like, yeah, we've got everything 1-to-1. Yeah, there's this very weird thing with this stable coin, but for some reason, to get the stable coin, they don't hold that 1-to-1. But he said it's unique because they have to hold a different stable coin, and then to get it, the money has to be sold into fiat. then back to the stable coin. And what happened was it USDC, wasn't it? We talked about it last week. Loads of people withdrew it. So they had to buy some more. So they had to pause withdrawals, but only on that coin. It was not, we've run out of money. It's just we run out of that one coin because our reserves got taken. Then he goes, but everything else is 1-to-1. That's the exception. USDC, okay, you kind of caught us there. We don't do that 1-to-1 with customer deposits, but everything else is 1-to-1. But yeah, this other interview where this is just like, it's pretty much a meme, really, isn't it? Where he gets asked specifically, like, if someone withdrew 2.1 billion, do you have the funds? And he just went, our company is financially stable. He went, no, but do you have the money? He went, well, we'd let our lawyers handle it. CZ, why are you mentioning lawyers?
Yeah.
Like, do you have 2.1 billion? Because apparently he said he has 60 billion. That was what their proof of funds is. Well, now it's gone down to 48 because something like 12 billion has been withdrawn so far. So they had 12 billion, but now the question is, do they have the other 48? And who knows, over the next couple of weeks, maybe we're going to find out because people started digging in, didn't they? And there's lots of shell companies at Binance as well. This it's a bit of a meme. I don't even know what the meme was even trying to say, but I think there's companies here, there, and everywhere that are all connected to CZ. Lots of big loans go in both ways. Shitcoins go in both ways. And you go, are we double counting? Does the money even exist? Do they hold a load of these assets in a shitcoin that's totally illiquid and worth nothing if they tried to sell it? And that's what happened to FTX with their FTT coin. So it doesn't look good for CZ. And but it's no big surprise, I guess.
What type of customers are still holding their money on there? Is it just like the mums and pops and those who are uneducated effectively, and they still trust it as being the number one? Because there's enough evidence out there to say that they should be taking this money off, right?
Oh man, FTX, like even my mum and dad have spoken to me about FTX. So this really has hit the normies out there. And so anyone that is actually in this space that hasn't taken their coins off an exchange at this point, and they just deserve to lose it. So obviously 12 billion of the 60 is gone, but the fact that, because technically, according to CZ, they still hold $48 billion worth of customer funds. What the hell are people doing storing that amount of value on an exchange for?
Yeah.
Makes no sense. But that's apparently that's what they're doing.
People are asking to get wrecked, basically.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised in the next year or so. It depends, really. I think if we get some type of price dip, that could be the final thing. Because the weird thing is, I saw Binance paid $1 billion, I think yesterday or today, for Voyager. I think Voyager are someone that went bust in all this. But then even that, it slightly reminds me of FTX buying up BlockFi. When
they're more solvent is basic than FTX, and they probably bought Voyager. What did they actually buy Voyager with? Did they buy it with their own shares, with their own debt, or did they buy it with the Binance shitcoin? Exactly. You got to look at these facts. Like the billion, maybe. Oh yeah, they paid $1 billion in shitcoin, or they paid 800 million in shitcoin and 200 million in cash. So it's very hard to decipher what's actually real money here and what's just the inflated money which I put into the market as a loss.
Because that's what Sam did, right? People were worried and were asking questions about FTX before it blew up. But then he goes and loans BlockFi like 450 million or something in exchange for essentially acqui-hiring them and merging their business into his. And you suddenly go, oh, well, if they're doing that, they must be pretty solid. But really what he was doing, he's buying it with a made-up shitcoin that he printed the day before. And he was stealing customer funds to try and prop up his failing business. You go, is that what's happening here? Are they buying it with a shitcoin they just printed just to grab whatever customer funds are left to throw into Binance to try and prop them up? And in 2 weeks' time, Binance has gone tits up. Who knows? I would be surprised because they are number one, and they're number one by quite a way. So for Binance to go down, because they genuinely do make a lot of profit. So who knows? Who knows how they're doing? But in reality, as Bitcoiners, really, who cares? It's just a bit of gossip, really, that maybe they go bust as well. But our next story,
Guys, because no one watches this show, I can talk about it, and no one shares this show, so I can talk about it. But I had a conversation with my contact at crypto.com, and they get paid out in shares, obviously in fiat, but also the ability to hold CRO coins as well.
is that the done thing?
Pardon?
Is that the done thing? Do employees take bonuses and pay in CRO?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck's
So
sake.
Do you know how long we have to hold it for?
they can. I don't know how long they have to hold it for, but I know that obviously, once you've got it, you can swap it. And it was strange, but this guy, again, no one watches this, so it's cool. This guy wanted to hold 20% of it still, even with everything that was going on. Even we talked about FTX and FTT, and was just like, yeah, I'm still going to hold it. And I was just like, I didn't say anything because I just didn't have the heart. But why even hold 20%? Like, dude, just flip it all, even if it's going into fiat.
It could be the demand or to make sure the coin doesn't sink or something like that. You know, all the execs and higher management are getting bonuses in Crow, then there may be something which they've got to do as part of the agreement.
It's the cost.
There's no stipulations.
Cost loss fallacy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm sure at the moment he's probably about 80% down that coin, and in his brain he'll be thinking, well, obviously I need to take out most of it, but I'll leave in some because it's going to the moon eventually. I don't want to miss out on the moon shot. Because in reality, the odds are it does go to zero, but he's not there yet. He still thinks it will recover. This is just a bear market. But
I do wonder how people can work in crypto and probably not be orange pilled. Because you're surrounded by all these assets and facts all day. Surely, most people got to be orange pilled by all this.
They're shitcoiners. Literally, like they hate Bitcoin maximalists in these places. They think we're old dinosaurs, boomers, and we don't understand this new innovative tech that all these coins are going to just take over the world. Everything's going to get tokenized.
Yeah, but surely they're like a casino. Like you see these reservations in America where they're just like, they just look at the gamblers as degenerates and they're like, yeah, they're going to lose all their money here, but we're not going to gamble because we're not degenerates. And that's how I feel that they would operate in these kind of places.
I think you might be right with the exec. The exec could well be smart people. They're running the casino in that thing. But everyone else, like the people that probably day-to-day you would talk to, day-to-day employees, they're just normal people, and fundamentally they're all shitcoiners. So if you look at most of the probably people that work in a casino, they all gamble. They'll probably all go and have a fly. They might.
I'd go so far as to say unknowing gamblers as well, because when I had my contact at FTX,
the one who didn't invite you to any orgies.
No, unfortunately not. I would have threw your name in anyway. She was just like, I remember saying, and obviously at the time I said, are you getting shares? And she said, yeah, of course, don't worry. I'm getting shares. But those shares, we now know, were in FTT. So they would have been wrecked, and they would have been on this false fallacy of, I'm rich. I've got all these FTT tokens, and so I'm tied to the business. So that would have brought in a false sense of security to all of these people as well.
It is genius because obviously, traditional companies, the companies we work for, they have share save schemes, but they tend to be publicly listed and it's all that. And it's, they give you some shares, but they don't invest for 3 to 5 years. And if you leave in between there, you just get your money back. You don't get any gains of the shares. It's all very common, but these shares have scarcity. They are tied to the market cap and performance of the business. So there's a check and balance there to go, the CEO can't just give me a shit ton of shares just because he likes me or something like that. Real money that will be coming out of the business that people will notice and shareholders will not like it. You have to buy those shares from one place and give them to me. So there's like
a cost. Transparent. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a cost of that. So it's like with Bitcoin, really, because there's a scarcity of the number of shares. Obviously, it's different in the fact that you can increase the scarcity of a company shares by anything you want. But there's a check and balance there. They can't just do it willy-nilly. But with these shitcoin companies, they do the same thing. So they get the same benefit, but they get it with no check and balance. So they tie all the employees in, get them loving that coin, and they're going to go out and shill it because they've probably got tens of thousands of pounds worth of that coin. It doesn't vest for 3 to 5 years. So it's absolutely in their interests to shill it to everyone else to make the value of that coin go up. And without realizing it, they become part of the scam.
Yeah. And then they just print more behind the scenes. So it's like fiat and steroids. I was going to pull you up on the stuff around shares, the fact that they can dilute and regularly do every year for things like share saves, and then also for awards to company directors. So, always just happen, but it's mild. Whereas like with shit coins, it is heavy. Like they can do whatever they want behind the scenes and then quickly pump and dump.
It's happening.
Anyway, let's move to Japan.
Cool. Yeah, let's do it.
Because it's another story. It seems like every week we have another mining story about Bitcoin. This one's in Japan, and yeah, they are mining Bitcoin with excess energy again. So this power grid, this isn't just some 2-bit power grid either. It's one of the largest in Japan. It's the one that has the Fukushima nuclear reactor, which famously exploded in 2011. But yeah, they're one of the biggest energy providers in Japan, and they've even said that we have excess energy, and we haven't really got anything to do with it. So what we will do is we're going to plug a load of Bitcoin miners onto the end. We're going to mine Bitcoin.
Seems like a waste. They should have used that excess energy to make I don't know, something plastic in China. I don't know.
So this is a really interesting case, isn't it? Right now, again, we're seeing a repeat of excess energy in a country that is now being used to mine Bitcoin. When do you believe that we'll get to the tipping point where this is now the norm and others start to catch on? So we understand that it's happening in El Salvador with the volcanoes. Obviously, we're talking now about Japan, last week's story. How many more do we need to? Yeah,
I think it's starting to move away from the reach of the everyday man who could buy a rig and do it at home. Because energy is slightly cheaper in that country.
Yeah,
because with it moving to renewables and also excess. This is things which have got negligible costs. So if someone's running it by solar, then obviously you've got the cost of the panels, but those can be split across your property and, mine across years versus a recurrent charge from the grid. And then you've got like waste energy like this one, and then like the oil fields in the US, where I think they're probably doing it for free at first. And now it's just like, it's probably just an admin charge. It's like, oh yeah, you want to go on our field, we'll charge you a little bit of rent, or you give us like a 1% share of the profit. And so I think it's the end of the home mining, and I think it is going to expand because this is just another revenue stream for any mining or energy or kind of like access to renewable energy field, where they're just going to go, fuck it, we're going to have some Bitcoin miners there because it's waste. But yeah, I just think it's going to drive the price down of mining, or rather increase the amount of mining, make this network more secure, but push all the plebs out.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on. Yeah, because this will essentially be the competitive edge. Like basically, any company that generates energy, they all compete against each other, right? They all want the price per kilowatt at a lower price as possible.
It doesn't even have to be energy, though, does it? So you kind of think anything which produces some kind of like excess, like steam, whether it's manufacturing, they could use the waste from that in order to power rigs. It's just putting some kind of like turbine to it.
Yeah, so anything with excess energy coming out of it somewhere, what it'll become is, well, that actually becomes a positive. And other people in your sector will start to monetize their excess energy by plugging it into mining. And what that will then do is drive the cost of the core product they have they can drive that cost down because they're making money over here in the Bitcoin they're mining. So it'll become a thing where if you're not mining Bitcoin with your excess energy, then you won't be as competitive as someone else, and you're going to go bust. And then your market will just get taken up by someone that does use Bitcoin mining to do that with the excess energy. But yeah, what this is a danger of, this is potentially, because obviously the big utility companies, the amount of excess energies these guys have is ginormous. It does raise a bit of a red flag to me to go, holy shit, if these boys get in on mining, they literally own the energy. They own it. Their excess is probably more than the rest of the country can freaking generate on their own. And you go, well, their cost per kilowatt hour is zero, really. Like there's an upfront cost of the miners, and then ongoing, they don't pay the bill for the energy. It's just excess from the grid. And you go, well, that means the cost of mining has gone to the cost of the miner. That's it. There's no energy costs now, and no one else can compete against that. So if the top 10, 20 big utility companies all copy this and do it at scale, because who knows? It doesn't say in here how many miners they're looking to build or something. It could be 10. It could be 10,000. And the big difference there. And obviously with that, what does come with it is potential centralization. We might just have 10 huge mining farms around the world, and then that becomes an attack vector for Bitcoin. So we still need our good old mining companies out in the outback, up in the hills of Iceland and Russia, that have got very cheap energy, very cool.
You need that volcano power, don't you?
We need lots of volcanoes, yeah.
And hydropower. I was thinking about this morning on a slightly unrelated note. So thinking about nodes.
1 minute, you were thinking about Bitcoin outside of the pod.
I wasn't thinking about Dink Doink. And I was thinking about the whole thing about nodes, so Lightning networks and general Bitcoin nodes. And I was thinking, well, in the future, this is a similar point to this, is could they have it into things like routers? So when routers aren't being used at night, they can be used as funneling payments. And then that would be a way of centralization, but also a way of resurrecting a very resilient network.
Yeah. Now, when I was in Puerto Rico, I don't think it took off. They had a single box. It was a Bitcoin node. It did everything. It had a hard drive on it for the family storage. It was a Wi-Fi router. Yeah, it was a node. It did everything. But who knows? That might come back. I think they were a bit ahead of their time.
Yeah, it does sound ahead of their time. But say in El Salvador, Central African Republic, and wherever else is taking it, you kind of go, that's actually quite nifty, because you just go, we're going to have this as our hub, and it means that we contribute towards our payments network to make sure that it's secure and it's fast.
So was that a company that created that like hub in one, essentially?
Yeah, they were selling them in Puerto Rico, yeah.
Yeah.
I've forgotten what it was called. It's like some kind of privacy box. It was like privacy, instead of using like iCloud and Gmail and stuff. So it would be actually as an email server, and instead of using iCloud, you could store your stuff, had terabytes of data on it. So it's basically like, so just as you would, because this is like with your node, right? It's your node is processing a transaction. So instead of trusting all these cloud services for these various things, which obviously has got lots of privacy concerns around, just use this one box for everything. And the Bitcoin node in it, yeah.
Did it have a VPN on it?
Don't know, probably.
I was going to say, as standard, it probably should.
It probably would,
It is a good idea, because I think on its own, a Bitcoin node is quite boring and isn't very compelling for the average person. But when you bake in the other features and go, it does all these things as well. But I think their price point, I think it's about 500 quid or maybe even 1,000. It needs to come down to like, £99, doesn't it? It needs to come down to the price of an Alexa or something. And then maybe you'll get some traction. But
you should get a free router from the internet companies when you sign up for their services for 2 years, don't you?
Yeah. And obviously, all the online storage is pretty much free. That's the problem, right? You have to get people that value privacy and kind of self-custody. Then you go, to take all my reliance off like Google and Amazon and Apple, for a couple of £100, I'm in charge of my data that's a very low price to pay. But for the average person, they go, does it do it better? Is it faster? It's like, if anything, it's probably a bit slower, and it doesn't do it better. But it's
And
your
I don't understand it.
yeah. So you
equally as
just go,
well.
why would I pay more for less? And you go, because you get privacy and custody of it. They go, don't understand. Anyway, see you later. You go, okay.
Probably one for us to come back to then, I guess, and watch this space on that. Maybe we've called it, but it's just too early in terms of the market.
Yeah, nodes do need some big innovation. I think we talk about hardware wallets a lot, but nodes
Yeah.
need to be sexier.
Mm,
And don't know what the answer is. If someone cracks it, then they're going to be very rich. But
yeah.
it's because hardware wallets have a very like clear use case, don't they? It's very like, yeah, you need one to hold your coins on. And self custody is obviously a massive thing. But to run a node and to process your own transactions through it, you don't have to do that. And in reality, in the short term, there's probably not going to be a huge amount of problem if you don't. So it's not as compelling. With a hardware wallet, it's like, oh, the alternative is leave it on the exchange then. Good fucking luck. Whereas with a
Is there a
node,
market for it though? Is it solving a challenge and a use case for people to do so to warrant them creating this node?
yeah, well, that's the problem at the moment, right? Because at the moment there's enough nodes, and trusting someone else's node has been reliable so far. There's not transactions that are regularly being thrown into the wrong block on purpose and stealing funds. So running your own node hasn't really been there's not a huge use case for it, but we should, because then that you help secure the network.
Yeah.
So it's more of almost like a charitable thing for the network that you're helping Bitcoin by running a node.
Yeah.
But there's not a thing like with a hardware wallet to go, oh yeah, your compelling use case is you actually own your Bitcoin, as opposed to giving it to CZ to hopefully not gamble next time he goes to the casino. And you're like, oh, okay, I'll buy a hardware wallet if that's my options. But with a node, it's like, well, you're helping secure the network. It's still fine and secure, and but you can make it even more secure. It's not.
I
That's
guess
not
you
very
always
compelling.
have that thing, don't you? Well, someone else will do it.
Yeah.
When really you have to be that person to also do it and contribute to it. And very similarly to, I guess, people that leave their coins on the exchange of, it'll never happen to me until it happens.
Yeah.
So
And
we're going to
talking,
move.
yeah, go on.
Sounds like I cut you off on some kind of like bridge.
Yeah, I was just going to say, yeah, talking about nodes and transactions and running your own node. The chances are, right, this next this next story about a transaction that someone put 3 Bitcoin in the fee to move 0.27 Bitcoin. Odds are this person runs their own node. Because if you did use some software that is from, I don't know, Ledger or Coldcard on your computer, or you use some type of wallet on your phone, the fees, it would not let you put 3 Bitcoin in the fees. It's the fees are largely pre-programmed in. You can probably set them like high, medium, or low, and sometimes you can go to the lowest. You can go really, really low, but the UIs don't let you put in stupidly high fees. It's just there's no reason to. Like if you could just put in, I don't know, say $10 right now, and that's the highest fee you'd ever need. You're going in next block guaranteed, so you don't need to go above $10 to get in the next block. So if you accidentally put $58,000 worth of fee in, the app wouldn't let you. But if you're running your own node, you have to enter all these details manually. So who knows?
I mean, I went on this website and I was just like confused as hell with all these letters and numbers and thinking, whoa, what is going on here? Now, I thought the same when I first clicked on Coinbase Pro. And I was just like, wow, this is like mind-blowing. I'm sure it does make sense, but equally I can probably see that it will, that you could easily make a mistake here.
Yeah, well, this is just the main pool. So this is just the website that tracks the Bitcoin blockchain, and this is the transaction specifically. that
You're saying it like I speak Japanese.
Oh man. So basically at the top of the screen, you got the fee. So they sent 345 million sats, which is obviously 3.5 Bitcoin. And then the fee rate, they sent 337,000 sats per byte. You can send a transaction 1 sat per byte. And I've done that many times, and you don't get in the next block every time. Sometimes you have to wait a couple of hours to find the block that a miner will accept 1 sat per byte. But you'll get in eventually. You might have to even wait a day. But if sometimes I'm sending like Christmas and birthday presents, they don't have to get there like right now. Sometimes I'm doing it a couple of days before their birthday anyway. So I just do 1 sat per byte, put it into and then I just forget about it. And I come back a couple of days later. Some miners picked up the transaction, and the transaction was done. So instead of paying 50p, which normally, like, how many sats per byte would that be? Sometimes it'd be like 10, 20, 30 sats per byte will get you in the next block. But sometimes I'm just feeling tight. I was like, I don't want to pay £1 to get in the next block. I'm going to pay a fraction of a penny, and I'll wait a day. And I don't know how this would have happened, but to fat finger 337,000 in the sats per byte box, holy shit, that was one hell of a mistake, and cost them $58,000. Some theories are this could be money laundering. This has happened on Ethereum before, where people have put huge fees, and because Ethereum mining is so centralized, there's only like 4 people that do it. It's a great way of going, oh, it's a loss. So let's say we're running Ethereum, which pretty much us 3 could if we wanted. So if I've got, let's just say I've got like 10 million of profit this year, and I'm going to have to pay 40% of that in taxes. What I could do is go, you know what, I don't really fancy doing that. I wouldn't mind kind of losing that 10 million. So what I could do is go, I'll send a transaction to you for like £1,000, and by accident, I'm going to put 10 million into the fees box. And so that I can now write that up as a loss. All my profit is gone, lost to 10 million. But in reality, there's only 4 of us, and I've told us that I'm going to do that. So whoever gets the block, give me the money back, because we've agreed it, right? We've agreed that's what I'm doing. And next year you can do it. So it's a good tax write-off. But the problem with that theory in Bitcoin is you can't guarantee who's going to get the block. And there's thousands and thousands of miners all around the world. So you shove 3.5 Bitcoin into a Bitcoin fee of a block, you can write that off as a loss now. That is a genuine loss. You lost 58,000. So as a business, you can write that off as a total loss. But if you're trying to get that money back somehow from the miner that grabbed that fee out of it, because that's why that money goes, by the way, the fees go straight to the miners who we've been talking about before. So imagine having that, imagine being that random pleb sat at home, being like, oh, yes, I mined a block. Oh my God, that's amazing. And then one of the transactions is worth $58,000 in it. You need to somehow have been able to collaborate that person was going to get the block. There has been some theories that sometimes the block can get mined. You can see who's going to get it, and then you throw a transaction in right at the last second. And if it had a fee like that in it, it's guaranteed to get grabbed. And just before the block's closed, this last transaction comes in. So then in that theory, maybe they knew who was getting the block and then sent the transaction in straight away. It grabbed it. So basically you can have a $60,000 loss, which really isn't a loss because you can feed it back in through the back door.
I mean, ultimately, I guess you could be both the gamekeeper and the poacher and be doing it yourself, right?
Yeah, you could actually, it could be literally the same person. It'd have to be like a different company or something. You need to actually segregate this too. But yeah, it could be the same person doing it. It'd be very hard in Bitcoin though. Like I've said, it's so competitive. The blocks are going so fast, and there's so much competition for blocks that to guarantee. Because imagine if you made that mistake, right? You're trying to write off 60k of tax and accidentally just sent off 60k to somewhere else and you didn't get it back.
Yeah, ouch.
That'd be a big mistake. But...
yeah, I'm waiting for some kind of story to come up on Reddit around this or something similar.
So you can read the comments and figure out what your opinion should be.
Yeah.
And I knew that would happen. I actually saw this on Twitter, and I went, instead of linking to Twitter, which has all the comments. I'm just going to link to the transaction and just see what you got to say. Turns out you have nothing to say. Okay.
No, we didn't.
I looked at it and I was just like, yeah, you're going to have to take this one.
Yeah, I looked at it and thought, we'll get an explanation out of this one.
Yeah. The colours are nice. I like what they've done with the colour scheme. It's nice.
Oh man, you need to go into Block Explorers more then. Like when next time you send a Bitcoin transaction, go find it, go have a look at it. What you'll see is like there's loads of transactions going in. Like your transactions will get mixed with others. There'll be loads of different outputs. There'll be fees. You can then go see what block you ended up in, what other transactions were in the block, what fees for the block. Just start digging around in there because that's what, when you look at CopyZilla's videos and stuff, when he starts analyzing the blockchain, that's the site or sites like that he uses. That's where you go dig in, you start clicking on transactions, you see input addresses, output addresses, you start finding transactions. And yeah,
you want me to dedicate more of my life to Bitcoin is what you're saying.
Yeah, unless if you've got 10 minutes of time left, then spend it in the meme pool. Yeah.
Okay. That's my takeaway action from this week's pod for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So next story that we've got on the agenda is Lightning getting more features. Now, I wasn't able to access this on my work laptop. So yeah. Do you guys want to talk about it?
Yeah, you might need to delete. I think there's a question mark at the end of the link. If you delete that, I think it'll work.
Right. Okay.
I copied it in slightly wrong, I think. I've corrected
I'll go onto my phone and see if I can do it on that one again.
But yeah, it's from Marty Bent. Marty's got a great website that he writes regular articles to. He's obviously got Tales from the Crypt, which is his very popular podcast. But yeah, this is just him talking about some features that are being generated in Lightning. It seems to mainly be around kind of micro payments. So you've got some apps here that will run, and they just want some tiny, tiny fractions of a Bitcoin, a few sats here and there, which essentially is next to no money if you convert it to fiat. But it's trying to just go, if you want to see the next picture, the next video, you can just pay your way, basically. So micropayments have been rumored for ages. Obviously, the internet came along and they thought that was going to be micropayments. But in reality, there's no way of doing micropayments with the existing financial world because Visa and Swift and all that want to take 20 cents to $1 per transaction. So if your transaction's half a penny, it just doesn't. It's impossible based on the existing financial rails. With Lightning, it is. Probably still a skeptic, really, on whether micropayments and paying away through games and videos is going to be a thing. But if it was this, and I don't have to see ads, or I don't have to pay for some weird subscription and stuff, I can just pay as I go. I think I would probably use it if the content was good. But I don't know, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think definitely micropayments has a place in the ecosystem for sure. And of course, there's going to be places in the world where a small micropayment is better than no payment. And if we move to a Bitcoin standard, well, that micropayment will effectively be worth a hell of a lot when hyper-Bitcoinization comes. So it's whether or not, of course, customers want to take that gamble. But I also remember micropayments could be that incentive for people to, complete a survey. As we know, there's only ever going to be 21 million of them. And so is it the new sign-up fee? Is that a micropayment of some sort? Is it Carrot? They give out micropayments.
Was it a 30-day quiz? Was that what it was?
Yeah, the 21-day quiz, basically. So yeah, there's definitely examples out there. Gambling companies in iGaming could be giving out micropayments as some sort of bonus and sign-up fee. So there's lots of use cases out there for why micropayments could certainly.
I can think of a really easy one is Brave. So if you use a Brave browser on your phone, you currently get BAT tokens, and then you have to go into Kraken or something to exchange. And I haven't done that. I need to do it on my old phone. But it is micropayments. So you get, I don't know how many BAT tokens. It takes you forever to actually get up to like a tenner. But if you had sats, it would just literally be, a couple of sats, and you get them there, and I'd actually store them rather than just trying to sell them. So I think because with Brave browser, it sends you, when you've been using the browser for a bit, it sends you saying click on this advert. So you click on the advert and it pays you a proportion of the BAT token, just for a bit of context. So if they change that to Sats micropayments, it'd be a lot more nifty, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, everyone wanted them to use Sats originally instead of their shitcoin. It would have been the number one browser by far if they'd have probably done that instead of their shitcoins. Probably just went to zero. Yeah, I just had a thought actually. It is great for verification. So like how Elon wants to get Twitter rid of all the bots and stuff. It's get them to just send the sat to Twitter from a Lightning wallet from your Twitter account. So essentially, you've done a financial transaction there, which is quite hard to do. It takes some human intervention, but it's not a decent amount of money. And you could use that for all types of verification. Like when people put £1 in your bank account and then take it out again just to make sure the bank account's yours. You could do that with Sats instead and go, I'll send you a Sat. You send me a Sat back just to confirm that, I am who I say I am. You verify. And I could have a wallet that has a bit of money in it. Because normally they just do that, don't they? To like verify that, this account's yours, does it have some money in it? And I could just create a day-to-day wallet that I'm happy them seeing. It's got a couple of £1,000 in or something. And I'd be like, okay, I'll send you a Sat from this one just to verify it's me. And I'm good for it because you can see the money sat there. And that's and you could use all kinds of verification. Instead of having a login, just send a Sat to verify that your wallet and your address is yours. And once you've done that, you just log in with your wallet now. Log in with your Bitcoin address.
Just having a quick look at the BAT price. It's over the last year, it's gone from 1.25 BAT to 1 BAT token to $1.25, and it's currently sitting at 0.18. So it is going down to zero. So that's not great because I need to actually just get around to selling my tokens then before it goes to zero. Even though it'll only be like 20 quid or something, which I've got.
It was always going to zero.
I know, it's depressing, isn't it?
I wonder how many. I don't even check my BAT tokens anymore. I can't be bothered getting them out. I've got 0.8 BAT coming this month. It's worth 16 cents. I do the same as you. I just wait until it's enough to try and get it out to an exchange. But normally I've done that before. I sent it to, what was it? It was Uphold originally. I think I had like a £5 worth of BAT that I'd saved up. I sent it to them. They got it there. But then to convert it from BAT to Bitcoin, they took £1. And then I wanted to send the Bitcoin off. And they charged me like £4.50. So I ended up with 50p of freaking Bitcoin hit my wallet. I'm like, the amount of hoops I had to jump through there. I thought I was doing all those hoops for a £5. It turned out it had 50p. I'm like, they literally stole 95% of it in fees. Like, what was the point in that?
Yeah,
I think you can get through Kraken or so on that now. I think they've changed.
I think it's Gemini. Yeah, they've got a new. I think so many people complain about Uphold that they've plugged Gemini in, but I've never done it through Gemini yet. So I'd imagine their fees aren't massively better. But anyway, do you want to move on to Fed of the Week?
Fed of the Week.
The friend of the pod, Elizabeth Warren. She's pushing for further regulations. So my understanding is that so at present, to buy crypto, because we'll say crypto, it's verification on exchanges, whereas she wants to push it out to wallets. So I was thinking, well, why wallets? And also she wants to stop things like CoinJoin being used. So getting rid of privacy, or I don't know what they probably term it as, money laundering. So it wants to move across any kind of like privacy or invisibility as such which users could have, because I was thinking about to myself, well, why do they need to make it invisible when exchanges are KYC? And I suppose it is for payments between individuals, to make sure that anyone who gets paid within crypto is verified, so it's not just being siphoned off somewhere, and ultimately so that money isn't leaving that jurisdiction like the US, so they're not losing out of more currency or worth, because obviously they want to tax everything. And then additionally, I suppose with miners, if you were mining, you could generate money, couldn't you? So it's be paying your electricity bill and paying for a rig in order to generate, I suppose we call it clean, non KYC money.
Yeah, it's nice Bitcoin straight out of the miner. But they seem to be going very specifically for CoinJoin here as well. It's they seem to be making it like really formalizing that if you do take your Bitcoin, let's say you mine it or you get it from an exchange, you KYC'd it, but you take it off, CoinJoin it, and then send it and use it for whatever. When other people come to take that Bitcoin and put it onto an exchange to potentially sell it or whatever, what she's trying to do is go, that Bitcoin won't be good here. That'll be tainted. We'll be able to see it's been coin joined at some point, and now we're going to make it illegal for an exchange to accept that Bitcoin, because we're going to say it could be money laundering, could be terrorist funding. And provided if she manages to get this through and gets the punishments harsh enough, exchanges will do this. And it will be something that you have to be very, very careful now of coin joining, because you are almost tainting that Bitcoin, at least in the US jurisdiction. Because if it ever needs to go to an exchange at some point, then it won't be accepted. Everywhere else will be fine.
If you're familiar though with Chainalysis and the US government are very, very closely interlinked, and they are one of the biggest in terms of like tracking and tracing Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies because of the government contracts that they've got. And I think that they will continue to do more and more together, even to the point where, the government may own an Elliptic or Chainalysis or CipherTrace or another, so that they can continue doing so, or have continued links so that they're able to monitor with expertise, because they couldn't do it themselves, but they could infiltrate a company like Chainalysis, so that they get all the information.
Like once the government owns like a company like that, it no longer stays innovative, and it basically gets bloated and it stops functioning.
And I think they can't pretend that they're government owned anyway.
Yeah,
they'll just have some patsy on the board, some friend who will make sure that things are done correctly.
Their number 5, like top 5 customers at Chainalysis is the government. So, cool.
Yeah, they're paid for anyway, so it doesn't matter. We talked about this many, 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 many pods ago. So about CoinJoin, and so coins are marked when they're put through CoinJoin, is my understanding. But isn't there an innovation happening which will hide that?
Yeah, well, Taproot was supposed to, yeah.
That's right.
Because the only reason why you can tell if it's been coin joined really is just like the number of transactions a coin has gone through. Because typically it would be, every couple of days, probably weeks or months, a Bitcoin should move. And then suddenly, if you just see one coin going through 10,000 different transactions, quite clearly what it's been doing is being tumbled. It's being mixed with lots of other transactions to basically hide the input and the output. It's being coin joined. Taproot was supposed to hide it. So who knows? Might have to have a look at a bit of Bitcoin Twitter for this to go, has Elizabeth Warren already been thwarted here? Because she brought this up. I think it was at least a year ago. She talked about this, and it seems to be getting some traction now, and she's trying to get it into law. So maybe Bitcoin's already innovated ahead of her, and she can't spot CoinJoin anymore. But I still, I would be surprised if you can't. Because like I said, it's just, how do you hide the complete history of a transaction? And CoinJoin just stands out like a sore thumb. If you do some chain analysis, it's just the CoinJoins just have been sent around so much more than others that you go, this is either just by pure happen chance the most trafficked coin ever, or someone's put it through a mixer.
Yeah. This when I was reading the article as well, it also goes on to say it calls for a rule classifying custodial and hosted wallet providers, cryptocurrency miners, validators, and other nodes who may act to validate or secure third-party transactions. So it feels like they are going after the miners, knowing that the miners are making, money in the good times when electricity and the power was good. So they're really trying to clamp down on not just the plebs and the individuals buying Bitcoin, but anybody else associated with it, so that they can have some sort of control. So the bill to me is quite overarching in terms of what it's trying to achieve.
Yeah. It does seem fairly similar to, once again, going to what's it called, the Failure of Nations. They talk about how various countries stopped innovations such as railroads from happening, and it stopped the industry and men being competitive. And this is literally it. Like, it's just, it's literally a mirror. And obviously I'm quite biased because I'm so heavily into Bitcoin, but I look at this and go, you're trying to stop Bitcoin. You're trying to stop it because it's a threat, rather than embracing it, which can take your country further forward.
Yeah.
And this is how nations fall. So it's how they fall down, because they don't embrace the next technical innovation, which would be potentially Bitcoin, which would be faster networks, decentralized, and basic industry, and the next renaissance can be built upon it. So countries which do take it, so Africa, because they've got nothing to lose, South America, nothing to lose, are the ones where we may see the great innovations, where they're not putting regulations in to thwart an innovation ultimately.
Yeah. And absolutely, like everything she's trying to do, it's just trying to stifle the adoption, make it harder for people
But
to
why?
use Bitcoin.
She's almost dead.
I know, she's just a puppet, isn't she? She's doing what she's been told to do.
Yeah, so we look at her, I reckon she'll be 77. Let's go for 77. 73. I just don't get why these people even care.
Maybe that's her dying wish.
She's got probably millions or billions. She doesn't give a shit, but somehow she clings onto this power rather than just going for a walk with the dog to the park, feeding bread to the ducks and seeing her grandchildren. But instead, she's going about regulation on something which she doesn't understand.
I guess ultimately, maybe, and I'm assuming in her mind, she wants to leave the world in a good place. And that good place is how it used to be and how she sees it. So if she can do everything in her power to stop Bitcoin, miners, validators, nodes, and anything else, then she will do so.
Yeah, I'd love to think that she was I would love, actually, that's the best case scenario, where she genuinely thinks Bitcoin is bad and she was spending the last years trying to stop it, just to leave the world a better place, because she genuinely thought Bitcoin was bad. It's not, though. In reality, it's the reason why these old people continue going is, number one, they still like the life that they've been accustomed to. They like the access, they like the power, but they get promised that, look, continue to do this stuff, and not only will you be rewarded, your kids and grandkids are coming through. Do you want them to have an easy path to success, or do you want us to make it difficult? The path behind you, the slipstream, is looking nice right now. Keep reading the teleprompter, and that slipstream for your entire family tree will be maintained.
It was
Go off script and start being a Bitcoiner. Oh, that tree is chopped down. Your kids will get nowhere near politics ever. We will shut the door in their face. So they keep shilling.
Just kind of as example that I read, I think on Twitter, about distant ancestors or relations of the Kennedys. I think one had been posted as some kind of relation to whatever country. And they're like, that's odd. And then the last week it's happened again for the Biden administration. So it kind of is the favors to the relatives, as you're saying.
Of course, yeah. But we had a fucking father-son president, like Hunter Biden clearly gets a load of things. Like Trump's whole family got a load of good stuff when he was president. Like it happens every single. It's not even a thing. Is it like everyone knows? Like if your dad's CEO of a big company, you only get a cushy director job there, and it's just government is just that, but on a huge scale.
Yeah, Tony Blair's son was a multimillionaire by the age of like 27. It's just like, oh, I bet he's a great businessman.
Oh man. Anyway, let's wrap this up with Logan Paul and his crypto zoo. What a fucking video this is from CoffeeZilla.
Seems like a good investment.
Yeah.
You're like losing all your money.
But don't you want art?
You do get a pug duck. What pug bat?
There were some great ones in there. So I've actually listened to quite a lot of CoffeeZilla recently because he's great at digging into things, and I think he's a real pain in the arse. And it starts off with the amount which people are losing. So I think one person said they lost $500,000. And I just kind of went, that's really unfortunate. I thought, you're a fucking moron. Yeah. Why are you putting money into JPEGs on the blockchain, which apparently play a game?
It's just price go up, bro.
Yeah. Again, I know another customer that shall go nameless that was always talking to me about, I've just bought this NFT, a DC comic drop, a Disney drop, and a Star Wars drop. And I was just like, I don't get it though. Like, keep talking to me, but I don't get it. I don't, and I want to get it because maybe I'm missing something. But
I bet they don't talk about it now.
Well, I can't even get hold of them to talk about it. Yeah, because I'm sure they are in the hole badly. And when I just kept on talking about my boring Bitcoin and just DCAing. I'm not doing anything different. I'm sorry. Like, yeah, I'm still buying. No, I've not bought anything in blue this month. No, nothing in red. So yeah.
Oh, here we go. There's a crypto zoo Twitter handle, and I came across Lion Kitty, which is just a lion's head on a kitten. What else we got here? Oh, it's a bear on a shark. It's a bear shark. Really badly photoshopped. Another bear shark. Let's see what else we can find. Oh, it's a dog's face on an elephant.
Yeah, this is innovation. So come on, let's just rewind a little bit and just like tell people what the hell we're talking about. So this is Logan Paul. It's his NFT project from about a year ago, and he said he spent $1 million on the artwork for this amazing game. It's going to be like a Pokemon type game. Essentially, what the whole concept is, you buy an egg and you have no clue what's in the egg. I think he was selling the eggs for anything to $2,000 to $3,000. I think it was just one Ethereum at the time. That's what Ethereum was worth. It's worth way less now, just in Ethereum terms. But $2,000 to $3,000 per egg, and then ideally it hatches, and hopefully you get a rare animal. And then obviously people then saw what the animals were, and they're just really bad photoshopped animals. And we've had Crypto Zoo on here before, and CoffeeZilla did a different video where he was exposing the fact that, oh yeah, there's a panda elephant. If you Google panda and elephant, the two images that they photoshopped together are like third and fourth in Google. So they've just stolen images, which is probably copyright law, because they clearly don't own these images. They're just randomly on the internet. They've merged these two animals together, called it a game. But now what transpires is not only is it just a whole awful concept, it turns out that a load of people, like millions and millions and millions of dollars, were raised for these eggs. But then Logan Paul fell out with the developer before they'd even hatched. So he ran off with all the source code. They now can't hatch the eggs. CoffeeZilla manages to track him down and go, what the hell happened here? He's like, Logan didn't pay me. Or I've got a team of like 15 developers writing the game, and Logan reckons he paid $1 million. He didn't give me any, or he gave me some shitty JPEGs of these dumbass animals. And he's like, I'm not launching the project. Like, I've done something over here instead. But so basically, the entire project didn't even launch. The eggs never hatched. No one's even got
So the scammer got
photoshopped
scammed.
animal. What?
So the scammer got scammed. So Logan Paul was entering the scam, but then got scammed by.
Well, I don't know where the
tech
money
guy.
went. I don't know whether.
Well-
I think Logan might have got the money.
Oh, so he got the money,
Just
but
never
Yeah,
paid
paid.
you the project.
Just
I
didn't
was
pay
gonna
his
say-
developers.
Yeah, the developers never got paid, so they didn't scam. They just wanted to be paid, and they're like, "We're not releasing your source code unless you pay us," and he still refused to pay them, or the people surrounding him. So it's unclear whether it was him.
Which is very
Or-
weird because they sold shit tons of these. So he had the money to pay. He just chose not to. Because as we know, like as CoffeeZilla tracks down, like there was one guy paid $500,000 on his own. So there's a lot of money they got sent in for these dumbass eggs. But Logan, for whatever reason, didn't want to give it to the developers to finish the project. So all that happened is people picked a load of eggs, and then people were on CoffeeZilla going, even if you load my NFT, it doesn't load. Like it's just a blank screen. There's not even an egg on it. Like the code's just down. It's off. Which is just horrendous. Like out of at least when you buy like a $3,000 JPEG, usually you get the fucking JPEG. So when that $3,000 JPEG goes down to $1, you still have the JPEG. In this one, you didn't even get the JPEG, which is kind of hilarious.
I've just been going through the tweets and I found one which is Apefly, and I saw him bragging about buying it on Marketplace, and he's saying it's beautiful. So it was as seen on Cryptozoico white paper, the famous Apefly, whichever artist did this, bravo, picked up on the Marketplace. So I just commented and just said, "Did you really buy this?" This was back in May, so obviously it was still going back then.
Yeah, and I was reading as well that Logan Paul has lost a lot of money on his NFTs as he bought some sort of like, it's called like a bumblebee stroke NFT. I'm just trying to find it. The Azuki collection. I'll put it in the chat and we can. If you
He would have
to.
been into like the Bored Ape stuff and the the ape yacht thingy.
Yeah.
I bet you he would have had them, which were worth like a couple million at the time and probably
Yeah.
worth like tens of thousands now. But I do look at this, and you know, we're kind of like, obviously most of the blame is on Logan Paul, but the fact is that people actually bought this. It's like, you know, I doubt anyone who actually listens to this podcast has bought any, but if you are, what the fuck were you thinking?
Please comment. Please.
Yeah, please comment.
Please.
Like, I'm going to torment this person on Twitter about that ape butterfly thing if they actually reply. But yeah, I'm not too
It's
sure
like
on
the
the time.
cockroaches, though, isn't it? They'll just all seep into the woodwork and scatter off because people won't say, well, actually, yeah, I lost a lot of money on FTX, and they'd be like, no, I took my coins off, and no, I wouldn't be so stupid to do so. But people were buying NFTs. You know, 2021 was the NFT year, and where are they now?
So having a look at this, he bought some Bumblebee, which looks like an anime version of like the Transformers robot.
Yeah, that's right. The Suzuki Bumblebee.
And I wouldn't say it's wonderfully drawn. Like, I'd say that I'm not going to be able to draw it because it looks like a 4-year-old's drawn when I draw something, but someone with a little bit more skill could do that. But people are paying for that. And it's just amazing. But probably not as amazing as these CryptoZoo. But thinking about like the timeline, Logan Paul did Dink Doink. Was he the one who did Stick Dicks as well?
It might have been Jake, but I think it was one of the brothers. Yeah.
So there's been a few crypto projects which he's done, and every one of them has never really gone live as being an absolute fuck up. So why would they think that anything is going to be different on this? I think, if
It's
you're
got a huge following of people with the money.
But
and they continue to fall for it because maybe this time it's different.
But I just look at these people and I'm saying, oh, he stole blah, blah, blah. He cost me this much. But it's like, no, you cost yourself this much. So you're a fucking moron. I can't say anything else about this.
I can see and feel and hear your disgust. And on that note, this has been pod number 79, brought to you by Mr. All In, aka the $1 Trillion Man, Dr. Evil 10%, aka the People's Champ, frustrated at NFTs, myself, Sir Neverlook, aka the Excellence of Execution, and maybe she was here, maybe she wasn't here, maybe she was buying NFTs while sipping coffee. Mrs. No Show, still Mrs. No Show. Peace.